If you've declared bankruptcy, you can still bang.
That's right.
Lucky you, Donald
Don't
Trump.
care if you got a car or not. Right? Yeah.
Next question. What was the funniest thing that you've ever seen at an orgy, and why was it Nick Tangeman? Oh, wait a minute. That's not cool. Skip that one.
No, but I mean, people must have to have a sense of humor, you know. At
You
these
do.
things.
Like, so my favorite, first of all, I really don't ever see something that I don't find just wonderful at any kind of sex event. But I went to an orgy in Portland, Oregon about, years and years ago when I was first getting into school. And first of all, it was really great anyway to see everybody having this energy. And then there was this one older couple that I'll never forget because they were both in togas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and this was just your average event, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't a themed event or anything.
Yeah.
And he had a stuffed kangaroo with him.
Yes.
And she had a paddle.
Yes.
And I'm like, I was
Love
with my
it.
husband at the time. I was like, baby, you go play. I'm going to go follow.
Yeah.
So, and
must study this.
They had this like little room where they were broadcasting what was going on onto the big giant jumbotron in the dance hall.
Damn.
Yeah. And so they went in and it was funny because even though they were older, they had to be in their 60s. They had this incredible electricity between the two of them. And I was like, I've got to, what's going on with these two? And, there was a little couch there in front of the camera, and he bent over and started to penetrate the kangaroo.
Okay.
While she spanked him.
Wow.
And that was their thing in their
Yes.
togas. And I'm
Yes.
like, oh my God, that's so great.
I like
so
the
creative.
combination, right? Like the combination of all these things together.
Yes, it was like furry kinda and
Yeah.
a little bit of kinky BDSM.
Yeah, some
and
ancient thrown in there
ancient
with the
thrown in
toga.
there. It
The
was
role
so
play is very
great.
solid. I feel like there needs to be commentary. Like I want there to be ESPN sports commentators who are
yeah,
watching
yeah,
thing and going,
yeah.
you know,
It
and now
almost-
he's bending over. She
Yeah.
pulls out the spank. Here it comes.
Yeah.
Wind up, and it's that's a good crack on the left cheek.
What almost seems like there was
The kangaroo's just taking it really
This
well.
kangaroo is a champ.
like
Mike.
you just write down ideas of just random objects. You put it in a hat. You
Yes.
draw three.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
let's put these three together.
Yeah. So
yeah.
like sex Mad Libs. That's what I'm thinking here. Is like there's a paragraph that Dr. Hartmann writes out and it's like, okay, you got to fill this in with
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
You be bold and then you make that happen, okay?
It was great. It was so great.
That is a good answer to a good question.
That was good.
Next question. Was this orgy the reason Las Vegas is losing the Stanley Cup? Are the players exhausted?
Ah, yes. What is the scientific connection? So if all of our hockey players are constantly having nonstop orgy sex, that might explain. But they were in Washington at the time.
They were.
They
They
were.
weren't here.
They were in
They were
Washington.
not here.
Plus-
So unless they had doppelgangers, they
That
were
could
not
happen.
here.
One could argue that maybe they would play better.
If they were there.
Right?
Yes. You know what's
Yes.
interesting?
Yeah.
So back whenever I was a student at UNLV and I lived in the dorms, I was on a floor with like all the student athletes. And I knew several members of female sports, female golf team, female basketball team. And one day they were explaining to me that their coach had pulled them aside and said, hey, never have sex before game day.
I've heard that.
And it was like, and I was like, what? Your coach talked to you about that? And
Yeah.
they're like, yes, because we have to perform, man. Like, we're not going to be having any kind of like hangover effect here or anything going on. And I thought that was really interesting. It's like, oh, wow. So
Well,
athletes have to think
I would
about that.
almost wonder if not having sex increases their ability for aggression.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was
Right?
wondering too.
Yeah.
So they
That's
can be
what I was
more
gonna-
aggressive.
Yeah. That's an interesting
Because,
thing.
bonobos,
yeah.
they're sort of kind of chill because they're
Bonobos.
always having sex.
Yeah,
right?
primates. So, and that's so funny because when I think of sex psychology, it's one of the very first lessons I'd ever learned was they studied chimpanzees, which are historically very violent,
Yeah.
and very tribal, and bonobos, who are very peaceful. They
Yeah,
get
it's
along.
matriarchal,
and
yeah.
they all have sex. Like and I was watching
Well,
this
when they have a
documentary.
threat, when they have another primate come into their tribe, they don't attack them. The matriarchs go over and just have sex with them.
And then they chill.
And they're like, okay, we're chilling.
Yeah, and like you go to the
You know?
zoo and there's like, this bonobo kind of get aggressive or whatever, and then like the female bonobos pull him, beside the bush, and then all of a sudden you see him come out with a cigarette and he's just kind of like leaning against the bench and he's like checking his phone.
Just
and
makes
I'm
you
like,
wonder
oh.
how that would affect world order. if
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
it,
yeah.
I
We
don't
could
know
send a
there'd be a lot
platoon-
of war.
Send
yeah.
a platoon to North Korea.
Yeah.
Like, hi, we're here to take care of business.
Yeah,
World
yeah.
peace in 30 minutes or less.
Right.
I surrender. It sounds good.
Yeah.
And our last question. Jim says his invitation was lost in the mail. He was actually rejected because of the last incident.
That is
right?
a statement. Oh, there's a question mark at the end. So the
Is
listener,
that a question?
The listener says that that I was rejected because of the last incident that happened at the orgy. You can be thrown out of an orgy, can't you? You can be escorted out.
If you violate any of the consent rules, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
Is it like mob justice? Does everybody just get up and like point to the door, like boo this man?
Oh,
boo,
yeah.
get out!
I think people are too distracted, but they have consent monitors that'll tap you and say,
"Oh, so there is like some security there."
Yeah. They had consent monitors. Yeah.
Okay. I got to zoom in on that. What an interesting idea, because a lot of people that are hearing about this, they've heard about the fiction of an orgy, but to realize no, it's a real thing.
Yes.
And it's done in a civilized way.
Absolutely.
And that's beautiful.
Yeah,
and so the consent monitors.
They had 7 or 8 consent monitors that were just making their rounds, and if you were not seeking consent properly, you were removed or asked to leave. Yeah.
Well, Dr.
Now, I didn't hear
Hartmann,
that anyone was asked to leave, so I think everyone was doing
everybody
it.
was on. Well, when
Everybody
you pay
was
$250 for a ticket, you're going to mind your freaking manners.
Yeah.
Dr. Hartmann, thank you so much for coming. If you're out there and you want to follow Dr. Hartmann on Twitter, I believe it's at Dr. Victoria.
Correct.
All spelled out, DOCTOR, Victoria. And she actually has a great show called Baking Naked.
I do. So my co-host and I, Joshua Coram, who is a professor at UNLV, we have this fantastic show called Baking Naked on Patreon.com.
It is really cool, and you can check that out on YouTube, Baking Naked, and you can kind of get clips and see a little bit about it. It is something you have to see to understand.
Yeah.
But if you like sweets, if you like baking, if you like sex education,
and
if
nudity.
you like gratuitous nudity,
Yes.
this is the show for you.
Yes.
And it is chipper and upbeat and a lot of fun. And then we strongly encourage listeners, go to the Erotic Heritage Museum. You can take a tour. It's very fun. It just crashes through a lot of what you think it's going to be, and it's very approachable, and it's easy to do, and it's a lot of fun. Erotic Heritage Museum. Is that eroticheritagemuseum.com?
Eroticmuseumvegas.com.
And their Twitter is Erotic Heritage.
It's Erotic Museum LV.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of fun. That's in Las Vegas. So follow Dr. Victoria, support what their projects are, support Baking Naked, and definitely go check out the Erotic Heritage Museum. And if you're interested in the next orgy, just Google that. Google.
Just come on by. We'll give you a
upcoming
list.
orgy every Friday in Las Vegas. Thank you, Dr. Victoria, for being a part of this.
Yes, thank you.
That's all the time that we've got for this week's session. Thank you to those who contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. Remember, pod therapy isn't something you should keep all to yourself. Help us reach others by sharing this episode. You can find us facebook.com/podtherapy or on Twitter @PodTherapyGuys.
Do you want to add your own advice to today's questions? Post your thoughts at podtherapy.net and join the conversation. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I'm the Orgy Kangaroo.
Thanks, and we'll see you for your appointment next week.
I like how Dr. Victoria's trying to not laugh into the mic.